just because they have the addiction doesn't mean that they're bad people. How did drugs make you feel? He said, well, they made me feel good. I said, you're right. Hello, my name is Pej. I'm an interventionist. I help people with addiction, alcoholism, and mental health hopefully get their lives back. Today we're going to talk about addiction and how we view a person that's addicted. Obviously, there's a stigma that is attached to people with addictions. Often people would think that they are from a lower level of life, people that have drug addiction, depending on what they're using. But the reality of it is that anybody can become an addict. Most people become addicted to many different things. Some people become addicted to your phones. Some people become addicted to the internet or television or movies or things like that. The gym, food, and then some people use drugs. I mean, that's all there is to it. We've got the fentanyl addict, the marijuana addict, we've got the meth addict, we've got the cocaine addict, and you have to try to think, like, why would some people get into one particular type of substance, or why would some people mix them all up and do all of them and become like a polysubstance abuser? Depending on the person's lifestyle, you know, no matter what, as bad as they can get, we have to view them as sick people first and foremost. That means that if somebody has an addiction, just because they have the addiction doesn't mean that they're bad people. They may do bad things. They may do things that are hurtful. They may cheat on their spouses, on their loved ones. They may cheat people in business. They may steal from people. They may lie. They may be compulsive liars, pathological compulsive liars. They lie about everything. But the reality of it is that they're sick. They're just sick people. And that's the way I need to view them. You know, that's the way we need to view them. Not everybody can be helped. I can't save them all. We can't save them all. But I can do my best to try to save as many as I can that come into my path. So often when I have a certain type of case or scenario or a person that's struggling with addiction, I want to know what happened, like who they are, whether it's a family member that's laying it out for me and telling me, or the person themselves. I want to see when they first started using. How old were they? What was it that they used? What did they get into? Was it just that, or was it other stuff? When did it become a problem for them? Did it affect them in the workplace, in the schools, in various places of their lives? And why has it consumed them? Not to say like right off the bat I can go deep and really find out what other kind of traumas that they've encountered in their life that have taken them to these types of levels, to the point where they'll use a drug like fentanyl that can kill you immediately, or, you know, definitely make you overdose several times. Or a drug like meth. Like, why would one gravitate towards a stimulant that's going to keep them up for long hours of the day, as opposed to an opiate that's going to make them pass out pretty soon, right? And I think everybody has different flavors, right, when it comes to addiction. But at the end of the day, people that depend on any type of substance to lift their spirits have low spirits. That means they are sick, they're ill, and they're doing something, a substance, to try to make themselves feel good. It's amazing. Like, I was having a conversation with one of the guys in one of our houses the other day, and I told him, I said, why do you think you used to use drugs? He said, I don't know. I go, what do you mean you don't know? Like, how do they make you feel? He said, well, like, is this a trick question? I said, no. How did drugs make you feel? He said, well, they made me feel good. I said, you're right. Of course they made you feel good. If they made you feel bad, you wouldn't do drugs. And you know why you were trying to feel good? Because you already feel bad. If you felt good, you wouldn't depend on finding certain types of substances to lift your spirits. Now, this guy was a kratom user and a marijuana user, and he liked alcohol, right? And so it was interesting just to have this conversation, like, what drew you to kratom? Why would you do kratom? You know, he lived in a house where already he couldn't smoke weed, so he was being tested, and they didn't test for kratom, so he was seeking another alternative to be able to get a head change. But why would he want to get the head change? What's wrong? Like, are you not comfortable in your skin? Certainly wasn't. He told me he's never been comfortable in his skin. He's always been insecure. He doesn't feel like he's motivated for life. He never did well in school. He was bullied. He was picked on. So why wouldn't he turn to drugs? Like, that's why a lot of people do. They don't feel like they fit in any place in the world, so they'll go towards these things. Now, when they start using these things, now he's already got an illness of insecurity or feeling less than, and now he's using a drug that's making him more sick, which he's not really addressing the problem. The drugs are but a symptom, and he's using them to try to uplift his spirits. And Unfortunately, that would actually bring him down more, because then there's the withdrawal period or having to get more, and then your family's on your case because you're not sober and you're not behaving right and you're not accomplishing anything in life, and you're tanking any opportunity that you get, whether it's in school or whether you're going to some kind of job. You can't even hold a job. And so, I'm doing my best to try to help him and get through to him and just let him know that there is hope and that we can do whatever you need to be able to get you into the recovery process, because he was very resistant. He said that he's defiant. He's been defiant his whole life. And I said, the only person that you're defiant towards is yourself. You're basically hurting yourself because you don't want to progress. And the only way that you're going to get this thing is if you get into recovery. Now, let's talk about people that do methamphetamines. Like, why would somebody want to do meth? Like, the mentality behind it, it could be a number of different things. Some people like to stay up for long hours. Some people like to get energy from meth. Meth gives you lots of energy. You feel like you can get a lot more done. Your brain is going at 1,000 miles an hour, and you think you can fix things. You think that you can build things or rebuild things or take things apart and then put them back together or make them work better. A lot of times there's like this, it's like your mind is playing tricks on you. You will be convinced of certain things and how they need to be, and you'll just be fixated on making them be that way. And nobody will understand you but you, because you're so caught up in having to create certain things or do certain things and make them the way that you want them to be. A lot of people that do meth are into doing illegal activities, a lot of criminal-minded styles of living, credit fraud. Lots of people like to do check fraud. Sometimes they'll even make counterfeit money. This is stuff that happens when you're up for long hours and you want to make money and you don't care. And even though they catch cases and they get in trouble, they will still go back to that lifestyle. They'll even do it in prison. They'll even do it in jail. And it's not that every person that does meth is a criminal. There are people, everyday people that I hear from that are working at normal jobs that call me and they say, I'm struggling, I'm suffering because I'm living this secretive lifestyle. Nobody knows, my family doesn't know, but I'm using this drug and it's meth, and I just wish I could get off of it. I think most people that do meth don't really like that they're on it. They want to get off, but they don't know how. And I think a lot of them that do it, that think that they love to be on it, it's just become such a way of life that they wouldn't know how to live sober, so they've become so dependent upon it that they continue to do it. But either way, when I was doing it a lot, I was often brushing my teeth a lot and taking lots of showers because I would sweat a lot, or I didn't want my teeth to go bad, and I would be up for long, long hours, always doing things that were, now when I look back at it, things that were just a waste of time. Like, none of it really was building my future. I was not getting anywhere in life. It was holding me back in life. It was prolonging me from ever actually getting somewhere in my life. When it comes to other addictions, or like, let's say alcoholism, for example, most of the alcoholics that I've seen, there's usually trauma that is, basically attached to their style of drinking. Some of them grew up in an alcoholic family. Some of them grew up in a rageaholic family. There may have been a lot of violence, anger. There may have been a lot of celebratory times for people with alcoholism where, they have to drink to this and they have to drink to that. And drinking is just a way of life. But I think a lot of times there's a lot of trauma that's attached to it, a lot of inadequacies, a lot of depression. Alcohol is a depressant. So when you're drinking alcohol, it lifts your spirits again. And why would an alcoholic constantly drink, especially the ones that become heavy drinkers or hard drinkers to the point where it rules their life, morning, noon, and night? Some people will drink at work. Some people will drink certain alcohol that won't be on your breath. Some people will hide alcohol in their houses so that their spouse or their loved ones don't find it. Some people's families find their alcohol and measure it to see how much of it's being drank. How much are they actually drinking? Some people's moods depend on how they drink alcohol. You might see them in much better spirits, acting much nicer when they're drinking. Some alcoholics tell on themselves because usually when people are drunk, the truth comes out, right? So, that's alcoholism. And then there's fentanyl addiction or opiate addiction or pill addiction or just heroin. Why would people gravitate towards this particular substance? I mean, there's so many different types of people that get hooked on opiates. Some come from legitimate pain. Like, they might actually have gotten a script from a doctor for some kind of pain medication that they become dependent upon. But if they've got that addict gene, or if they actually have, you know, some people, they don't get addicted as much as some other people do. So some people develop this dependency for opiates because of a legitimate script, and then afterwards either they abuse their script or they re-up it, and over a period of time their doctor cuts them off, but now they have this full-blown addiction, so then they go get more, and sometimes they resort to street drugs, or they resort to online dark web drugs, right? And sometimes those drugs are laced, and often, more often than none, they're laced with fentanyl. So how does somebody get into fentanyl? If you're already an opiate addict and you've experimented with heroin, and it's got you hooked, the brain of an opiate addict doesn't actually think this is a drug that can kill me. It thinks more like, it won't kill me if I do it in a smaller dosage. I can get higher on this because it's more powerful or more potent. Or I just overdosed 3 other times because of this drug. I just need to not overshoot the mark, use it in smaller substance, like in smaller portions, and then it, you know, I got this. Like, they don't actually think I could die from this. And then there's some people that use it and they don't care if they die. There's some people that are so sad about who they are and what they've become that they might even use so that they will die. I speak from experience. I used to have people that told me, at the rate that you're going, you're probably going to die. And I tell them, I don't care. Good, I don't care, because I hated myself. Too many people are suffering from addiction. Too many people are reaching out to me, telling me what they're caught up in. Some are youngsters that are just smoking THC carts or weed, and I tend to think, like, what's going to happen to that person throughout their life? If they're doing that now at the age of 13, 14, what's going to happen to them when they're 18, 19, 20 years old? What are they going to move on to? And I can look at it from, you know, from their lens, and I can also remember to look at it from my lens. How did I grow up? Why did I get into these substances in my young adolescent period? Because it went from being an experimental phase to a full-blown addictive phase, right? To the point where, like, it was morning, noon, and night. I depended upon any substance that I was using regularly all of the time. I was a very sick person, and it took me to actually have to get sober to realize how sick I was and how sick I don't want to be anymore. I need to rejuvenate. I need to tap into spirit and become the best version of myself in the recovery process, and that's why I do what I do. I want to help people. I want to help people get out of the facade and come on this path of recovery and hopefully get their lives back. So if you or somebody that you know is struggling with addiction or alcoholism or mental health, please don't ever hesitate to call me. I'll do my best to get back to you, and let's try to explore some options to get anyone help that's struggling with addiction or alcoholism. Thanks.